This is Harry Judd for Boxing Social in partnership with Empire Fight Store with the Phoenix Boxing Club here in Denton, Greater Manchester. Delighted to be joined by Jack Massey. It is Friday the 13th. Next week you go and face Joseph Parker. Is it starting to become more real now as it gets closer on?
Yeah, definitely. You know, this is our last hard week of training now, so it's all coming real. You know, it'll all sort of come more real next week when we've got all the public workouts and the weigh-ins and the interviews and stuff like that. So yeah, it's exciting stuff. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it is exciting. I mean, you know, let's go on first of all with the announcement of the fight. We will go on first of all as well. There's a lot of, if you go on Twitter in terms of the arguments against the fight, there's a lot of arguments against it in terms of why is Jack Massey going in there with Joseph Parker. Ben Shalom eloquently on TalkSport said, you know, this is hopefully a rocky moment. You're from the city, you've got a great story. You know, give this lad a chance. You know, what are your reactions? What's your message to those that are sort of against this fight?
Do you know what? There was a bit of a pushback more at the start when it first got announced, but I think the more it's sunken in, I think the more it's grown on people. People can see, you know, it's going to be a good fight. You know, it's a big step up to the heavyweights, but you know, it's been done before. A lot of cruiserweights have stepped up, and you know, Kevin Lorena, who had the IBO title before me, he fought Dubois a few weeks ago now, and you know, put him down 3 times, and it can be done. And you know, Dubois is a big unit, so it's not one of them things where it's, you know, it can be done.
How have you found the transition though? I mean, you know, cruiserweight to heavyweight, obviously, yeah, it's a jump, but it's not as big a jump as many other weight divisions. But you know, how have you altered your training? I mean, obviously you've got different sparring in for this session, but how have you found the transition? Because it surely is a whole different camp, this one.
Yeah, it's been up tenfold. We've implemented a few different things. We've obviously been eating more. Obviously, we're going to come in a lot heavier than what I'd usually come in on a fight. But there's no pressure there either, because I usually have to cut quite a bit to get down to cruiserweight. So there's no pressure in that aspect. So we're not cutting weight. You know, feel full. You know, feel good all the way through the camp. You know, because sometimes when you're cutting weight, you can pick up these little niggles and you know, feel tired and you know, go back home and feel drained and stuff like that. So we've not had that. We feel nice and energised and full, which is good.
Yeah, I suppose it's a good advantage to have, I guess, to not worry about the weight at all. And it's, you know, it's you can eat what you want, I guess. So I guess it's been a stress-free camp in that aspect.
That's it, yeah. Plus, there's no pressure. I think the pressure's all on him for this fight. You know, he's coming off a big loss to Joyce. You know, he's getting a cruiserweight, but you know, everyone's sort of looking a bit like that. So he's going to think he's going to have to put me out of there pretty early and make it, you know, put on a good fight. So the pressure's on him.
Yeah, has that made this camp, in terms of you are a massive underdog in this fight, there's no point in not saying that, but do you enjoy that aspect of it?
Yeah, definitely. Always like being the underdog. Yeah. You know, I love it when I go to someone else's hometown and the fans are all cheering for them. I think that's when I sort of, you know, the best comes out in me in them sort of situations. So it gives me that extra drive. I do like that.
Yeah, because you mentioned the crowd as well. Obviously, this is your home city, but Parker has sort of made a name of himself moving up to Morecambe to train with the likes of Tyson Fury, etc., and Joe Joyce and Parker. The fight night was a lot of the audience or the crowd were much on Parker's side. Do you still think you're going to have majority of the home crowd on Saturday next week?
Yeah, you know, it's one of them. Parker's, you know, everyone in the boxing world knows Parker. Not everyone knows Jack Massey. So, you know, plus he's signed with BOXXER. So, you know, it's one of them. But I think I'm going to steal the crowd on the night, 100%. You know, sold a lot of tickets for this fight also, and obviously, you know, it's my home city. You know, we're next to Manchester, so yeah, I think we're going to steal the show.
I do love the fight, I'll be honest, because this gives you such an opportunity. There's a massive story that you've got, which we will go on to, and you know, a good performance against Joseph Parker. Let's say, you know, if you win, then again, the possibilities are horrendous. But let's say good performance, then again, you can certainly put yourself up in those big rankings. You've mentioned AJ as well, possibly if he wants to come out and fight, then we can speak about that. But I think a good performance next Saturday really puts you in the mix.
Absolutely, it's a win-win fight. Like you say, if we don't get the win, we drop back down to Cruiserweight, campaign at Cruiserweight, and there's massive fights to be made there. BOXXER, I've got the monopoly on most of the British Cruiserweights, so there's some exciting fights to be made there.
Is there any fear? I mean, look, you're a boxer as well. I mean, I'm not saying that you've taken this fight at one given notice, so you're not scared to fight anyone. But you hear a lot of people that are worried for your safety. Really, is that a concern of yours at all?
Not really. I've done this for nearly 20 years now. It's the year I had last year. Nothing's going to scare me. It's one of them. But obviously nerves are running high, which they do anyway. But nerves are good. Nerves are good for you. You got to realise that nerves are what keep you more alert, keep you sort of so you don't feel the punches, and you know what I mean. It's keep you nice and switched on. So the nerves are running high, but fear, I'm not scared.
It's what you're in the sport for, I guess. It's going up the big challenges, the fights you get given. So I think that's on your side. That's probably what you'd say. You mentioned there as well, you're not scared of anything because of the year you've had. We will go into a little bit more, but how low did it get?
Yeah, it got really low. Obviously, there's a few things I can't really touch on, but it was a tough year. Our last fight was in April, and after that, we lost 2 titles through no fault of my own. And we were skint, and I ended up being doing a few weeks before Christmas on the scaffolding, trying to put money together before Christmas. And we sort of had me and my missus had a few issues as well. We had a couple of losses, and then it was a tough year. But then we got the phone call for the fight when I was actually working before Christmas. And it was a straight yes to that. And my missus is pregnant again, and we're expecting our first child in June. So it's on the flip side. It was the worst year last year, and this year's the best year of my life. So
wrapping hands and now wrapping nappies, it seems, in June. So congratulations, mate, in order for that one. But one quote I've seen you say previously, that life's a roller coaster. You sympathise with that?
Absolutely, mate. You like you say, it's. Last year was the worst year of my life. This year's going to be the best year of my life. So it's never give up. You never know what's around the corner. People struggle, whether it's money or whatever is happening in their life. But there's always something around the corner. Things always come good.
You have fought. I mean, the Sheffield car park fight. It wasn't actually in a car park. It was in a ring, I would say. But you have been out there having fights. But did you ever think of just packing it all in?
Absolutely, it crossed my mind loads of times. Me and Eamon was only talking the other day. There was a time when we was in the gym, and I think I said to Eamon, if I don't get this email, what we was waiting for, if I don't get it tomorrow, then that's it, I'm done. And luckily it came through. But yeah, there's been times where I've just thought, you know what, it's not for me. It's thrown everything at me, and something's telling me not to carry on, but I'm a stubborn bastard and stuck it out, and it's come good.
Will you be, depending on what happens next Saturday, let's say worst comes to worst, it goes horribly wrong, let's say horribly wrong, would you still want to campaign at heavyweight, or would you go back to Cruiserweight? What's your feelings?
Definitely drop back down to Cruiserweight, 100%. There's big fights to be made there, exciting fights. You got the likes of Bill and Smith, Lawrence Nicoli, Riakporhe, Rematch. There's some great fights there to be made.
Obviously, we will mention as well, you said just then about the scaffolding. Was that not ever a thing? Would you have just stuck that out, and that's what you would have done if you'd have retired?
Do you know what? I only did it for 3 weeks. My brother's a scaffolder, and he put me on to his boss. And I was just doing a bit of labouring before Christmas, was getting a bit of cash in hand. But it was just I don't know. Listen, I've done boxing all my life. I don't know anything else. I think that's the reason why I've stuck at it, because I don't know anything else. It's not as if I can go fall into something. I haven't got a plan B, so I've got to make it at this game.
Was it again? Talk me through the story. You were on the scaffold. You got an email. How did it all work out?
No, so my manager Kevin Marie, he rang me on the Friday. I was up on the scaffold. He rang me. He said, "I've got some exciting news. I've just had an offer." I said, "Let me get down off the scaffold. I'll get in the van, climb in where it's nice and warm, and we'll have a chat." And then he broke the news to me, and it was like, "Yeah, let's have it. Let's take it."
A lot of people will know you after the 2019 fight with Riakporhe. He will be there obviously on Saturday night. Again, will you be calling him out if everything goes successful?
Yeah, definitely. It's a fight I want. It's a fight I've asked for previously, and it's not sort of happened. But yeah, well, I'm looking forward to seeing how he does against Gulatsky. Tough fight for himself, but he gets the win, and then it's something that can be made 100%.
Because that 2019 fight was sort of when it all went sort of the other way. How do you reflect on those times?
It is what it is. It's. Do you know what? It wasn't as bad as it sort of skyrocketed me a bit, that fight, because a lot of people had me winning that fight, and a lot of people took to Twitter saying, you should have won this, you should have, But it is what it is. It got me a good 12 solid rounds in the bank, and it was a good learning fight, good experience, and to headline a Sky show as well, it was great. So never take it as a loss, take it as a win, and then move forward. That was the sort of mentality from that fight.
I think your mindset's fantastic, to be honest with you. The things you've been off outside the ring and things you cope with outside the ring, that's what sort of brought you here today, I reckon.
Yeah, you can only keep moving forward, can't you? You can never look back and dwell on things. And, there's times for getting upset, and then you've got to, march on and power through it. And it's all about mindset, isn't it? You got to keep marching forward, one foot in front of the other, and you'll get to where you want to be.
Obviously, after that, promotional companies and things like that were going all wrong. Looking at young fighters coming through, any advice you'd have for those coming through?
Yeah, I think get a decent manager behind you first. Get a decent manager, someone who wants the best for you. Not all about the money, and don't rush into anything when you're signing with promoters. Don't rush into the first contracts. It's all it all looks all shiny and that, and don't rush into anything. Don't sign straight away. Have a little shop around. Obviously if you've got a good trainer behind you as well, get good advice off them and get good advice off your manager, and then go for the best one from there.
Have you spoken to Ben since the announcement? I mean, it was Ben who defended the decision to have you in this fight. He's the one that's compellingly said, this is a rocky story, etc., etc. That's why he's brought you in. Have you spoken to Ben about that and maybe thanked him for the opportunity?
Yeah, well, I thank Ben. Usually for this opportunity, it's all down to him and the guys at BOXXER. Really appreciate it. But we'll be seeing him face to face next week, so I'll have a little sit down with him and thank him face to face. But yeah, it's much appreciated.
You haven't been that active in the ring, obviously, last year. What do you think it will feel like to finally get back on Saturday?
I feel great to be back in there doing what I do best, and this fight can only skyrocket me, and we'll be we'll be busy from this fight now. There's
no malice, no rivalry, no bitterness between you and Parker, not at all. What do you make of his last performances as a fighter?
Yeah, it was. He's had a few tough fights now. It must have taken something out of him, that fight with Joyce. It was a tough fight for him and a bad stoppage on his behalf. So it might have taken a bit out of him, but we're not banking on that. We're banking on what we do best, getting in there and getting the job done.
I think you're expecting him to try and take you out early. Are those 3 rounds most key?
Yeah, definitely. We've got to stay alert from the first bell until the last bell. It's 10 rounds. We've got to stay on the ball all through this fight. He's going to try and make a statement, but we're not going to let him.
You beat Parker, like I said. That puts you perhaps within the top 10 heavyweights out there. Is AJ really a possibility?
It's a possibility. He might want a comeback fight. He might see it as an easy option. Cruiserweight stepping up to heavyweight. He might see it as a nice little tick over fight and then straight back into the mix. So it's a possibility. But win this fight, either way, it's a golden ticket, isn't it? You know, it's got to be another top 10 heavyweight. So.
And that's what you'd do. You'd carry on at heavyweight division. You wouldn't move back to cruiserweight. You'd just carry on in that time.
100%, definitely.
Finally, then, in terms of your message to the fans that want to tune in and back you on Saturday night, what's the message? You
know, thanks for all the support. You know, make sure you tune in and watch the fight. Or if you come into the fight, make sure you you know, cheer us on. So you know, thanks to all the fans and sponsors for getting behind me for this fight.
Jack, pleasure, mate. The whole city, hopefully, will be behind you next Saturday, but we look forward to next week. And thanks to all the Boxing Social.